Alright, today we're following up on a repair job that was done. We replaced the motor and the pump on this unit right here with the brand new one. Customer stated that they weren't happy with the end result of the pressure being right, and so what we did was we went ahead and we checked everything, and with here at A&E, the way we set our pressure is based on amperage as opposed to PSI. However, because this customer stated that pressure wasn't adequate, we went ahead and we put our gauge right inside here in a quick coupler. You've got those on your service truck. And then we also need to verify what our power and amperage requirements are. There was a question about that as well. So here you've got your outlet right here. And typically what you're going to find on a 110 circuit is that when this plug and this plug are simply parallel, that's an indication that it's a 15 amp circuit. When this one is up and down and this one has the option, you can see where it actually has a horizontal as well as a vertical. That's an indication that this is a 20 amp outlet. And because it has a 20 amp outlet, it's safe to assume that the wiring size is there to support it. And so we decide now, okay, instead of being limited to 15 amp in terms of setting our pressure, we can go all the way up to 20. The next step is to find out what this system is under full load. And under full load, what we do is we go down here to the motor and we look at the nameplate amperage on the motor. Probably can't see that from that angle because of the lighting, but it is 18.2 maximum amperage on 110 volts. So you can go ahead and on this particular unit, it's got a rotary switch on the front. Some of them have got rubber boots on the back. Some of them have got electrical tape all wrapped up. This one here, because it has a rubber boot, you can simply feed the wires in while you simultaneously pull back on the boot, being careful with your fingers because this is live power. It's always a good idea when you're doing that to go ahead and unplug the unit while you're exposing the wires. Go ahead and pull the boot back. It exposes where the wires underneath this clear cover, you can see where they hook up to the rotary switch. You put your ammeter on either one of the hot legs coming in. I like to use black, it's just a personal preference, and we checked it. Here we're at 15 amps when we got here, which is okay if we had a 15 amp circuit, but since we have a 20 amp circuit and that the motor has a capability of 18.2, what we like to do is run them about 88 to 92% maximum. If you do the math, you're going to be somewhere around 16.8, 17 amps is where we want to set this so that we are at our 88 to 92% maximum. I cleared that with the customer to make sure that culturally within their business they're okay. Some companies like to run these things at 100%, so we tweak them out as high as we can go. This customer is okay with the fact that we're going to run it about 90%, 85, 90%. So I went ahead and this nozzle had a uno momento.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. This had a number 7 nozzle in it, which gave us 15 amps and about 500 PSI. So what I did is I started going down incrementally 1/2 size at a time from a 7 to a 6.5. That got us up to about 16 amps and about 700 PSI. Then I went down to a number 6. Number 6 got us up to about 16.5, 16.8 and about 800 PSI. Then I went down to a 5.5. Now 5.5 jumped us all the way to 20 amps and 1,000 PSI. Now we've exceeded it. Now as a technician, you've got the choice. Since you're at 20 amps, you can start adjusting that regulator and bypassing some water. However, you're really not giving the customer full performance because you're bypassing some water. The most performance comes from the maximum water flow. So in a case like that, what you're going to want to do is instead of looking at the PSI, you know you're at 20 amps, which is too much. So what I did was I dropped back down to a number 6 nozzle. That got me back into my 16.5, 16.8 amp range. And then I started adjusting the regulator, make sure, you know, that as I back it off, I'm looking for a change in my amperage. Just a very small amount of change. Once your amperage starts to change a little bit lower, you're trying to lower the pressure, which in turn will lower your amperage. then you know you've reached the point at which you're at maximum pressure and you're real close to the unloading pressure. So then you can screw the unloader back in again, about a half to one full revolution, verify your amperage is still where it needs to be at. In this case, it was 16.7, 16.8. If you do the math on a circuit that has an 18.2 maximum load, you're at 92%, which is pretty good. Customer noticed a significant difference in terms of volume and pressure, and so for this one, even though we started with the number 7 nozzle, we went to a number 6. We raised our amperage from 15 to 16.8, made a huge difference, went from 500 psi to 800 psi. Huge performance increase. Now the customer is satisfied. If you have any questions, check with a supervisor or contact us on the web at www.aefresno.com.